What's up, crypto people? If you're new here, I'm Kevin Crates. We go over 5 charts every day. If you're not new here, welcome back. Today we're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, DOT, and HBAR. Bit of a rough day in the market today, guys. It's the first time in quite a while we've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum have a decent sized pullback since practically July 20th now. And unless you're completely new to the crypto markets, I mean, today's pullback was nothing substantial by any means, but it's definitely something we're going to talk about in detail in a few minutes and see what is going on in terms of price action. But one thing to keep your heads up about is that altcoins are still holding on to a lot of their gains from the last month. I mean, try and keep in mind that Ethereum is still trading around $3,000. We got BNB just under $400. Cardano is basically trading around $2. XRP is still above $1. Polkadot is trading around 23, one of my favorites, and Solana, definitely one of my favorites, still trading around $65, trying to push back up in price. I mean, as far as altcoins go, if this is a bad day, this is still a very decent day for the market. And I understand that days like today are not easy for anybody in the space, whether you have a lot of money invested or whether you have a little bit of money invested. Crypto is a volatile ride and it is a risky ride. And there are months sometimes, especially if you've been through the last few months, where there really isn't much to be optimistic about except for the fact that you know and believe what this space is. Because if you're still in crypto, especially after the last few months, especially after this pump that could have been your exit if you wanted it to be, you understand what this space is. You understand that we are in the midst of the virtual gold rush. So you got to keep your eyes on the prize, guys. Don't let days like today shake you. Don't even let the last few months shake you. Because let's just click on BNB, for example. And let's go back 1 year in BNB's price action. All the way back to August 18th, 2020, BNB is trading at $22.31. Fast forward to May 10th, 2021, BNB is trading at $672. And today on a bad day, BNB is at $398. So I want you guys to just take a moment and look at all these prices behind me. I want you to look at Ethereum stuck around $3,000. I want you to look at Cardano around $197 and XRP at $110, Polkadot in the 20s, Solana in the 60s, Uniswap at 26, Chainlink in the 20s, Matic at 134, Stellar XLM at 34 cents. And I want you to ask yourself what these prices will look like in a year. Because the way that I see it, eventually we're going to look back at this video seeing Ethereum sitting here at $3,000. The way that we look back at videos of Bitcoin sitting at $3,000. So I'm going to cut my TED Talk short there, but just keep your heads up, guys. We are still so early in this space. There is still so much room for the crypto space left to grow, and we are still so early. So we're going to dive into the charts, take a closer look at price action, and talk more in detail about what is going on here today. Looking at Bitcoin's daily chart, let's zoom in here, turn on our notes from the other day. As far as price action goes, some of these pullback targets are the low 44,000s we did talk about, and it looks like Bitcoin did reach that range. Let's jump to the 4-hour chart and see exactly where it dropped to. So Bitcoin did land on some of our price targets of the low 44,000s, but things still look decent, but they definitely do not look great, especially on Ethereum. Ethereum is the one that we've been talking about for quite some time. That 4-hour chart, I talked about price action hanging above that Kumo cloud since July 20th, and today was the first time we have seen Ethereum enter that Kumo cloud. It's finding a nice little bounce here, but as far as price action goes, Ethereum really does need to get back above 3,150 to 3,200 for things to get bullish again. And same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has now entered the Kumo cloud. Not as big of a deal with Bitcoin, since you can see back here around, where is this, around mid or early August 2nd to August 6th, that Bitcoin did enter the Kumo cloud, but it found a bounce on the other end and worked its way up in price action. It continued the uptrend, and a bounce off the 50 EMA on Bitcoin as well as Ethereum is still decently bullish. Ethereum, however, did dip a little bit below, but it's still hanging on there, and the possibility of a push up in price for Ethereum as well as a push up in price for Bitcoin in this range is still possible. But let's just focus on Bitcoin for now, and we'll talk more in detail about price action on Ethereum in a moment. The other thing that I wanted to point out on Bitcoin is over here on the daily chart. Now, the thing about price action lately is I'm still feeling bullish. And for those of you who are not new here, you know that I'm not generally bullish. I was definitely not bullish throughout all of this. I constantly talked about lower price targets, but from the time the Bitcoin challenged the Kumo cloud, we did talk about price action looking very different. And then by around the point where price action had worked its way to the top of the Kumo cloud, shown strength and popped out, that is when we started talking about the market potentially returning to a bullish state. So even though today we did see a decent dip for Bitcoin as well as Ethereum and the altcoins did take a slight hit, that is the thing that is keeping me feeling bullish. It's how little the altcoins were affected by Bitcoin and Ethereum's price action, especially Bitcoin's, because that reminds me of back here when the market was in a bullish state, when price action was well above the Kumo cloud and we did have those dips every month. So those monthly dips are actually what I wanted to focus on here for a moment on Bitcoin, because we're going to go all the way back to January when prices had started to pump intensely. And then around January the 14th, 15th, 16th, we see prices start to trend down from there. And then by January 24th, January 27th, they reach their low. Prices start to trend back up. Jump over here to February the 19th, 20th, 21st. Prices start to trend down. By March 1st, they reach bottom, start to trend back up. Jumping over to March 15th, prices start to trend down from there. By March 25th, prices reach bottom, trend back up. Jumping over to April 15th, 16th, 17th, prices start to trend down. We get a bit of a bounce off April 24th. Wasn't exactly the best bounce. And from there, we went into the May 19th crash. So most of you probably remember that. You remember that every month, or generally around the same time, there would be a massive market crash, usually Bitcoin starting it off as always, altcoins taking a decent sized hit, not generally always a giant hit, some things getting hit harder than others, but once a month, every month around the same time between the 17th, the 20th, the 22nd of every month, Bitcoin would crash and the crypto markets would crash. The reason I wanted to discuss those dips is because today is August 17th and we're seeing a market dip similar to the market dips we used to see back here, not similar to the market dips we used to see back here. Now, again, price action is higher, so that could definitely account for the reason that we're not seeing altcoins take the same beating, because anytime Bitcoin dipped here, here, or here, the beating on altcoins was substantially greater than it was today. The way that we saw the altcoins dip today reminded me much more of the way that we used to see altcoins dip back here, and back here. And let's just leave this one out of it since that one did not end up so great. And again, that could happen today. I'm not saying that this is definitely what is happening. For all we know, this could just be the last attempt of Bitcoin to try and push up through the Kumo cloud. It's going to fail, work its way back down, jump over to the weekly chart, turn off all these notes. We might even see Bitcoin drop back down and retest this Kumo cloud here around 40,000 before springing up or dipping back down to around 33,000 inside the Kumo cloud, and then maybe even finding support along this moving average right around the low 29,000s again before potentially trying to retest a push or trending lower. All of these different scenarios are possible, but for the time being, as far as price action goes across the markets, the altcoins held up decently today. And for that very reason, that gives me some indication that it is possible that we are seeing something similar to these dips back when the market was much more bullish than it has been in quite some time. So as far as price targets go, if we jump over to the 4-hour chart and take a look here, we can see that price action has entered the Kumo cloud on Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin is hanging on to this support level here of around 44,000. Let me just delete this higher one, but it's hanging around the low 44,000s. And then below that, I start keeping my eye on this range here of around 43.7, and below that, Bitcoin may drop all the way down to 42,000. Let me just put a price target on this one as well. But currently it's finding support around 44,000, but price action has entered the Kumo cloud, and that is not the first time this has happened. Bitcoin has entered the Kumo cloud here. The only reason that I would say that we should all be somewhat cautious about this market action is Ethereum's 4-hour chart. And we're going to talk about that more in detail in a moment. But Ethereum's 4-hour chart, this is the first time it has entered the Kumo cloud since July 20th. And when price action exits the other side of the Kumo cloud, that is generally an indication that price action may be trending lower. but there's still the possibility it catches a bounce here or even catches a bounce around here before trying to retest and push up through the Kumo cloud. However, Bitcoin's price action is actually finding higher support than Ethereum did inside the Kumo cloud, hanging above that 50 EMA and not even challenging it just yet. And Bitcoin may trend back up from here. But again, keep in mind, these are all 4-hour charts and this could take a few days. But let's jump back to the daily chart and just talk about price targets. But let's turn the notes off for just a moment and just talk about the fact that this is still a decent setup. Conversion line, baseline, lagging span, same situation on Ethereum, and both of them are still hanging on to that conversion line. Prices can still push up from here. This is still a decently bullish setup. However, what could happen if prices start to trend lower, if those lower supports are tested, in that situation, I'd start to watch for that 40,000 to 41,000 range where Bitcoin may approach the baseline. It may still bounce there, especially on those moving averages. But if Bitcoin loses that 40,000 range, that would definitely be a bearish scenario. So as far as price targets go for Bitcoin, breakout target's still the same, 48 to 53,000, but since prices dipped into the Kumo cloud, I'll be keeping my eyes on these resistance levels. It's really got to get back above 45.8, but it really does need to get back above 46,000. But for the time being, I would just like to see it push back towards 45.8, show us some indication it's trying to get out of the Kumo cloud. If it can't do that, I'll keep my eye on this 44,100 support. Below that, I keep my eye on 43.5. It is a decent amount of support there, a bit of a bouncing point in the past. On the lower end, I keep my eye on 42.1, and on the lowest end, the support that it definitely needs to hold is in the 40,000 range. Looking at Ethereum's daily chart, let's turn our notes on from last time. As far as Ethereum's price action goes, let's turn the notes off for a sec. This is the first time that Ethereum is showing some level of downward pressure. However, as far as the weekly chart goes, if we jump over here, and there's still 4 days left on this weekly candle, this is still a very decent setup. Conversion line and baseline haven't quite crossed, but the fact that price action is still above the baseline is very decent for Ethereum. As long as Ethereum can stay above 28.25, everything still looks okay for Ethereum, especially on the weekly, but I don't want to see it dip below 28.50. Anything below that baseline would not be a good sign as far as price action goes. So it needs to stay above the 28,000, low 28,000 range to show us some indication that the weekly chart is still looking this bullish, because this pullback, it's still okay, but you don't want to see it drop below that baseline. If we jump to the 4-hour chart, that is where I've been watching Ethereum closely, and this is the first time that Ethereum has entered the Kumo cloud. So as far as price action goes, if we turn the notes on, Ethereum did find a decent amount of support at the very bottom of the Kumo cloud, around the low 29,000s. It's now pushed its way back up to this support level here of around 3,029. It's trying to hang on to that and push above. Ethereum's next level it's got to get back to is around 3,100. But as far as price action goes, entering the Kumo cloud for the first time since July 20th was not what I wanted to see today. But if it can manage a decent bounce here, push up in price, it's really got to get back out of the Kumo cloud. 3,100 would definitely be nice to see, but Ethereum's got to get above 3,150. If Ethereum can show strength back above 3,150, if we see Ethereum trading around 3,200, that would be very bullish. However, this could take a while. It could be a bit of a bounce here in price. Let me grab that pen tool. Bit of a bounce in price here, and then prices could trend back down and then possibly push up again. Or if things work out great, we may see Ethereum just press right back up, reclaim 3,150, break out through the Kumo cloud, trend up from there. However, we may see Ethereum exit the other end of the Kumo cloud. Now, that is definitely what we don't want to see. However, there's still the opportunity to find support on these moving averages, get a bounce, and then reclaim that Kumo cloud. However, where Ethereum is right now is definitely not great, but this 4-hour candle, there's still 1 hour left on it, but we are seeing a bit of bullish indication from this candle that price action may be able to trend back up, and that 3,150 level is definitely one I'll be watching. As far as price targets go for Ethereum, it's got to get back up towards that 3,150 range. That's the area that I will be watching. At the very least, I'd like to see it press back up towards there, and better yet, claim it and push towards 3,200. For the time being, it's hanging on to that 3,030 support. Below that, keep my eye on the bounce point that it just bounced off of around 29.20. And on the lower end, I'll be keeping my eye on that support level where it does have a decent amount of support around 28.82. And on the lowest end for Ethereum, I'll be keeping my eye on that baseline right around there in the low 2,700s for Ethereum. Looking at Solana's daily chart, let's turn our notes on from last time we talked about Solana, and you guys know I'm extremely bullish on Solana. Grabbed a bit more around 59 on this dip. I would not mind Solana dipping a little bit lower so I can pick up some more, but Solana, in my opinion, is still looking very bullish. While the rest of the market is still getting dragged down by Bitcoin and Ethereum's price action, Solana looks like it's still trying to push back up towards the $70 range and maybe even push into all-time highs again. Solana is still looking very bullish, especially if you take into consideration the amount of movement in price action over the last few days. It is still looking very decent as far as price action goes. As far as price targets go for Solana, I mean, long-term price targets, I'm expecting Solana to go much higher. That is why I'm so bullish on Solana and why I keep talking about it even at these higher price targets. And this is Solana around $66 in a situation where Bitcoin and Ethereum are trying to tank the market. And Solana is still hanging on around $66, basically looking unfazed from this price action. I mean, with how much Solana has recently pumped, you would expect a larger dump from Bitcoin and Ethereum pulling the market down, but Solana is looking strong. And if Bitcoin and Ethereum start to show signs of recovery, I would not be surprised to see Solana push back towards 75 and possibly set new all-time highs. However, if Solana does trend back down in price, that would not be the worst thing either, because I will definitely be looking to add to my Solana. But as far as price targets go for the time being, anything above 67 is extremely bullish for Solana. That'll be above the conversion line on the daily, and that will set Solana in the right scenario to be able to push back towards possibly challenging its all-time highs. As far as pullback targets go, 65 is currently a support level. It managed to get back above, took a couple candles there. You can see 65 was a bit of resistance, but now it's showing decent amount of support, trading around 66. Below that, I keep my eye on the support level of around 62. On the lower end, 59 was a bouncing point, but we do see a lot of buying pressure below $60 for Solana for the time being. But if in any situation it does lose that 59 support level, I'll keep my eye on the original all-time high, which is just in the high 57s. It's really around $58. And on the lowest end for Solana, I'll be keeping my eye on around $53. Looking at Polkadot's daily chart, DOT getting pulled down by the market, but it is still hanging on here. I mean, take a look at the daily chart here, still above that conversion line. DOT is still looking very bullish. If the market can start to show signs of recovery, as long as DOT can hang on to the support level above $22, DOT is looking very decent. And on the 4-hour chart, DOT has still not even entered the Kumo cloud. I mean, DOT's 4-hour chart, July 20th, you see the pump start, and we can see here DOT is still continuing its pump. So as far as price targets go, it's got to hang on to that $22 support. Resistance now around $24. Above that, DOT showed a lot of signs to want to push up in price, but the market did start to trend down. But DOT's breakout targets and keep my eyes on around $28 to $31. 28 would really be if the market starts to recover. $31 is more of the breakout target, but it's got resistance around $24. Got to hang on to that $22 support. And on the lower end for DOT, I'll be keeping my eyes on around $19. Looking at HBAR's daily chart, let's turn our notes on from last time we talked about HBAR. I've been holding HBAR a long time personally, and in my opinion, I think HBAR has a lot of potential left in it. I mean, keep in mind, HBAR was trading around 2 cents in January, went all the way to around 45 cents, trended back down as the market crashed, but HBAR had a lot of support throughout the bearish part of the market. I mean, I would have expected HBAR, considering it was trading around 2-3 cents, to have trended much lower than it did, kind of hung out in that 14 to 16 cent range. And ever since the market started to recover, HBAR has shown a lot of strength, even pushing all the way back to around 27 cents at one point. So as far as HBAR goes, I think there's still a lot of potential here in price action, especially if the market moves into a bullish state and we see some kind of market recovery. HBAR, in my opinion, should be trading well back above 30 cents in no time if the market continues to pump. As we saw here, pushed all the way to 27 cents, lost a bit of that momentum, hung on to that 20 cent support, trading around 22 cents right now. I'd like to see HBAR push back up to 24 cents, but it all depends on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So as far as price targets go for HBAR, pretty simple. Breakout target is above 29 to 30 cents. If the market starts to recover, if we start to see Bitcoin and Ethereum press back up towards the prices they were trading at a few days ago, I'd like to see HBAR back around 26 cents. Current resistance level is around 24 cents. It's got a decent amount of support around 22 cents, which is trading around right now. Below that, I keep my eye on around 20 cents. And on the lowest end, I keep my eye on these moving averages right outside the Kumo cloud around 19 cents for HBAR. All right, crypto people, that's all for today. If you enjoy this content, if you find it brings you value, if you could just take a moment, scroll down, drop a like on this video, maybe leave a comment, helps this channel out a ton. I appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm out.